What did you learn about using like AI tools in Cursor? I know we've talked about this previously, but how did you elevate your kind of companion Centaur AI model?
I think I am increasingly careful in how I prompt it. I tend to write pretty long messages where I write out, the type of detail that I might write in a, you know, project that I would share with a normal developer. And I find that, the more specificity you can offer in the outcome that you want it to create without being prescriptive about how it needs to do it, the better result you tend to get. I don't know. Sometimes I find that it teaches me a lot about how things to be done, and sometimes I find it doing odd things. I'll notice, for example, that it is creating a totally new function that does something very, very similar to a function that we already have. And I'll say, hold on, like, don't we already have a function that does this? Here's the file. Are we making this more complicated than it needs to be? I find that, like, when you ask it leading questions like that, it is always agreeable with you.
It's weirdly complimentary. It's like, oh, you're right. Great
Yeah.
point, Rob.
Yeah. And so, like, I've become, like, very suspicious of those responses because I'm like, I have no grounds to believe that I'm right here. I like maybe in front end, sure, but like in something that I just like would not be able to write myself, I don't know that I'm right. And so like I tread around those kind of moments really carefully. And sometimes I'll say like, well, what's the best practice here? And get it to spit out a few options and like I don't know, it's that kind of back and forth are I find it really interesting, because it produces something that works, but I am often skeptical about whether it's scalable or a good approach, or if we're incurring a whole bunch of debt that we're going to have to resolve later on.
Agreeableness or complementariness of the LLM kind of makes me think like, are you just like gaslighting me? Or like,
Yeah.
if you're so quick to agree with me, like, why didn't you recommend that early?
Yeah. There's probably a way to like add a setting that's like debate with me, as opposed
Yeah,
to,
tune the prickliness and disagreeableness factor.
yeah. I do want it to be like more opinionated about how things should work though. Unless I, sort of directly tell it, no, this is how we're going to do it.